That's really why 95% fail, is because they've split their efforts. IT versus AI. Success is often the opponent of innovation. It's incredibly risky. It's incredibly naive.
This is the Future of the Future show. I am your host, Mateo Berbejicio. AI is creating a new kind of pressure inside mid-market companies. The urgency to move fast is real, but so is the risk of getting it wrong. Without the right leadership in place, many organizations are stuck between experimentation and execution, unsure how to scale AI responsibly while still capturing its value. That is exactly where today's conversation lives. How do you bridge that gap between ambition and capability without hiring a full-time executive too early or too late? Jeff Roberts is right in the middle of this problem. As a founder and CEO of Innovation Vista and a five-time CIO, he has spent years stepping into companies at critical moments, helping them align IT strategy with business outcomes and avoid the traps that cause most AI initiatives to fail. He brings a front row view into what actually works when companies try to move from interest in AI to real impact. Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Mateo, again for the invitation.
Jeff, you've said most mid-market AI initiatives fail not because of bad strategy, but because of something else. What's the real failure mode you keep seeing inside these companies?
Yeah, we do. We see a common pattern. And of course, it was huge news when the MIT study came out maybe about a month and a half ago, and indicated that 95% of AI pilots fail to deliver value, 19 out of 20. And we certainly hadn't seen that kind of failure rate. But what we have seen is a pattern where companies have tried to run an AI pilot disconnected from their IT. Whether organizationally, it's actually being led by another group, maybe a chief AI officer, or within IT, but it's treated as a silo, like this is the special project, and this is different from involving our systems people, data people, infrastructure, and cyber people. And that's just a huge mistake. And it's one that we are trying to help clients rectify and avoid in the first place if they contact us before doing those pilots. It's a painful mistake because AI needs IT. And the case could be made pretty strongly these days that IT needs AI
Right.
for automation and for efficiency, right? So we really purposefully put the two together. We want to understand, particularly data, right? It's the fuel for AI. What do they have? What's the quality of that data? What are the fill rates? What are the accuracy rates? Is it clean enough and usable enough for AI models that won't throw out a bunch of false positives and false negatives? If it throws out false positives and negatives, it's probably going to kill the credibility of the entire project, and you end up with one of those 95% cases that the business says this doesn't work, let's cancel. So it's a little bit of, AI is new. There's a lot of organizations trying this, that their first effort is their first effort, and they don't have anybody in the building that's ever done it successfully to help guide them away. And that's a measure of how complex it can be to really be successful, that 95% fail in that first try context.
It's a striking number once we think about it. There's a tension between speed and governance in AI. How do you help companies move fast, but without creating long-term risks they don't yet understand?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's another one. There's widespread misunderstanding We have seen governance packages that you would not believe the paperwork and the approval levels that are required in order to get anything done. That is not how we suggest governance is set up. We suggest rather than forcing people to do certain things, set it up as a protection against the things that you're worried about happening. And that sounds cliche to say, but uh, that mindset shift of, let's let the normal things that teams have to do, let's let those happen. But how do we make sure as they're doing that, as they're uh, testing new changes, releasing new changes, um, training the user community on new changes, et cetera, that they don't do the things we are worried that they will do, which would be what? Toxic combinations, giving something security and access to something that shouldn't have, maybe allowing the effect of an AI hallucination to negatively impact production system data, uh, those kinds of things. So put in protections specifically for that. And then on the main lanes of how these teams need to operate, let them operate. And that's what we've seen work. Um, of course, there's a lot is made of the Spotify model with their methodology and uh, how they've really distributed decision making and how they coordinate change. We like that model. It's, there's no one model that's to do to make their product better and to continue to evolve are easy. And like we like to say, governance is a freeway. It actually speeds your efforts on where the speed comes in to help you. And leadership has more comfortable saying, it's all right if we, continue to the next phase. Once they have trust that the process is going to work and that there are controls in place to keep everyone's nose clean, so to speak, access and things like that. So governance is it's a whole spectrum of what's possible there, and we think people are they live far too much on the end of the spectrum where it's prescriptive action, gates, check marks. All of these things are blockades and speed bumps to the process, and that is the wrong mindset. Rather than targetedly, in a targeted way, I guess, searching for what you're looking to avoid and protect against.
Um, Walk me through the first 90 days of a contract CIO engagement. What do you prioritize first? Strategy, governance, use cases, or cultural alignment?
Uh, um, what we prioritize first really is trust with the client. Um, of course, in parallel, you're talking about the first 90 days. We are gathering technical information. We're looking at the platform they have, the policies, the processes, the org chart, the skill level of the team, the vendor partnerships. We look at all of that. But really, in terms of facing off with the client, it's all about trust for us early on. They need to know that we have taken the time to understand their business. We're assigning a consultant that's already familiar with the industry. So I don't just mean that. I mean, what's special about their company, that cultural alignment, strategic alignment. Um, are they trying to be a white glove, top level service sort of company? Are they trying to be a commodity efficient pricing sort of company? Like there's a lot of ways to succeed in the market. Um, and our consultant needs to really learn that. And they learn what's important to senior leadership. They learn what are the non-negotiables, and where do they feel like change would be not only possible, but where change would be supported by the leadership team, and if they could get that momentum that they need. Um, Digital transformation has been a buzzword for so long, and we find over and over that successful digital transformation really needs senior leadership. Often, our consultant is the one that's going to bring that mindset to the executive team. They're not going to listen, or they're not going to take it seriously, I would say, unless they know that that consultant has taken the time first to understand how that company is unique, what they're even trying to do, so that what comes out of our consultant's mouth is very much in line with their board of directors discussions and what they say to stakeholders and investors. And once that happens, we have some traction. We can get somewhere. We, of course, in parallel with that, we've done all this technical work, and we're ready to bring a strategy to the table. And by then, the trust is built up enough, we hope, that it will be taken seriously. And part of that strategy is most likely going to be a pivot of some kind, some sort of change. Um, they don't call us unless they're either unhappy in some way or looking to, get to the next level and see some impact and competitive advantage from their technology. So change is sort of expected, but we need them to support and to trust that the direction of change that we're recommending is one that actually makes good sense for their company.
Now, your model focuses on bringing Fortune 500 level leadership to the mid market, right? Um, what do you think these companies consistently underestimate about effective IT and AI leadership?
What do they consistently underestimate? I would say the potential impact, the potential business impact from technology. As strange as that is to say, in 2026, we see it. We still see it very frequently. Uh, Not just business leadership, of course. There's a lot of business leaders still out there that believe that IT is very akin to a utility, that it's a necessary evil, and the goal with IT is to basically take the budget as low as you can while still getting the service that you need. And they look at it as a light switch sort of thing. Did it work today? Yes or no? Um, that's just such a problematic mindset now, and it's getting worse and more painful every year. Um, Not understanding the impact that technology and now AI and automation and agentic AI is just transforming the world. I mean, we're in the beginning stages, so a lot of people may not realize this, but these functions that follow any kind of script, or certainly any kind of simple judgment, even AI can handle now in a pretty trustworthy way, and we can get human in the loop to have quality control and things like that. And it's just the efficiencies are incredible. And you got a lot of white collar professionals who have been spending their time on the job dealing with data, dealing with email, dealing with reports, taking data from one system or one report, entering it into another. That sort of inefficiency is still pretty common in the mid market where our clients typically live, that 10 million to 1 billion kind of range. And I think a lot of it is just back to this mindset that what they underestimate is what IT and AI can do, and the level of impact there. ROIs of 300, 500, 600%. These kind of projects, you just don't find that in any other typical uses of capital. You're going to do a new product, new service, geographic expansion, acquisition of a competitor, very common uses of capital, and there's an ROI with those. But the low-hanging fruit that's there with IT and automation and AI typically just blows that out of the water. And you know, maybe it's only the low hanging fruit, and there's a certain threshold that companies hit at plateau. It depends on the industry, but that we do see that in some. But for sure, that the initial awareness and the light bulb moment of technology can really move the needle. Technology can win us market share. Technology can drive uh, pricing power like we've never had before in our market. Those realizations, when senior leaders realize those things, that's a key insight. And I would still say more don't understand that in the mid market than do. I do think Fortune 500 have almost all come to grips with it, and those industries and those companies are, in a lot of cases, leading the charge to transform their space, and they're putting people who have an older mindset at real risk for disruption. Um, so that's what we are trying to educate people every day in the mid market and business leaders most of all, to realize what technology can do. It's a problem with technology leaders as well. Interestingly, we go into some companies and uh, maybe their board is a little bit unhappy with what they see and what they feel they get out of their technology investments. And the technology leader will have a mindset that is very much, I'm about keeping the lights on. Keep the lights on and the hackers away. I've done my job, and I'm hitting 100% out of 100%. And so even with them, we're educating technology leaders also to say, don't you realize there is a whole other aspect of technology work? And yes, it involves collaboration with the business, much more so than keeping the lights on and keeping the hackers away. You need to understand the business, where the costs come from, where the revenues come from. What is our competitive positioning in the market? How do we differentiate ourselves from these people that we're trying to take market share from? And how do we use technology to really uh, escalate and accelerate that? Um, so I could go on for hours about this because it is a blind side that it's you know it's a market opportunity for those of us that are helping companies realize this. So we have knowledge every day that we're bringing something to the table that they desperately need and that they will significantly benefit from. So I like that part of it, but I also think it should be more obvious and more clear to more people by now. So I think we've got a lot of inertia and we got a lot of success is often the opponent of innovation. You have a profitable business, it is harder to see, and I understand that. It's harder to see that you need to change and that your entire business model may be at risk if you don't change. That's a very awkward conversation with a business leader that's not even seen the first hint of that in their space. That doesn't mean it's not there. And we see it closely enough that we know the risks and the opportunities both. And so, yeah, time is of the essence, my friends.
So on a different side of the spectrum, we have CEOs of companies that this is the whole era of vibe coding and the whole era of do it by yourself, right? And so some of them might be going like, oh, I can do this by myself. I can vibe code this whole product. I can put it out there. I can create this. I can do this. I can do that. So what do you think? What's the mistake that some of them are making right now by trying to do AI without a true technology leader in place?
The CEO's nephew, if we call that. There's often some young person that the CEO knows who, has begun experimenting with these AI tools, and they figured out some things, and they've done some vibe coding, and maybe they show their uncle, look how quickly I can do some things. This is amazing, and the uncle CEO says, well, that's crazy. Our IT department takes 2 months to make an enhancement, and get it all the way through development, testing, and rollout. And here you are telling the system how to build software, and it does it right for you. Um, yeah, it's incredibly risky. It's incredibly naive, obviously. It's kind of an extreme example where he listens to his nephew and no one else. But things like that are closer and more common than people realize. A lot of times it is, I think, maybe more a risk for companies that rely on a vendor for their technology support. And if that vendor doesn't provide AI, you basically are guaranteed now to have split efforts. And earlier in the conversation, I pointed to that as that's really why 95% fail, is because they have split their efforts, IT versus AI, and they're not working together on this. When even a pilot for an AI project, you need that collaboration, partnership. You need to understand what's upstream of the models in particular, and what the infrastructure and security can handle. And that doesn't happen if you've got an MSP, running your IT support on a day-to-day basis and managing your systems. And then you want to do AI, you find either it's the CEO's nephew, or because of that experience with the CEO's nephew, they go find an AI firm that is, hey, we can help you do it quick and dirty. A lot of them are out there, unfortunately, giving the industry a bit of a bad name because they are promising things that are crazy in some sense, and maybe not even believable. We can build a model that's fully accurate no matter what condition your data is in. That's my very favorite extreme example of that. That's favorite bad example to point to is the naivete of that. And I don't think they actually believed it, the company that was saying that. I think that they were so desperate to get in the door that they thought they could make that kind of promise and then figure out a way to get close enough, and maybe they could scrub some of the data that they needed to that wasn't already in a condition to use it. Just very naive and very irresponsible. And yeah, the company that made that claim is already out of business. It did not take them long, but those firms are out there. So I think that's the thing we worry about the most, and it's a big part of our messaging, is to help educate the mid-market CXOs out there that IT and AI need each other. This idea that you're going to hire an AI firm, and they're going to go do AI in some kind of vacuum separate from what you have going with the rest of your technology. There may be a few things that come out that are interesting, but I just can tell you from experience over the long term, if it's not connected well enough with IT, it's not gonna succeed in the long term. There will be some kind of data surprises, security surprises, system access. When we come to doing agentic work, the coordination level between the IT and the AI, it's so much that they need to be one group. That's how I would say it. It needs that much coordination, that you need one leader, a technical leader within IT, who has responsibility for both. Typically, that's a CIO, maybe it's a VP of IT, but someone who understands the risks and that dynamic. And the most successful projects that we work on are ones where clients realize that, or they're open to our recommendations. And when we recommend that, they're open to that. And they start out from the beginning thinking about inventorying their data. What can they do to enrich and cleanse what they have, integrate it more fully, deduplicate it, things of that nature. That's where you find the successful path, not on these isolated AI pilots.
Jeff, if someone in the audience wants to get in touch with you, how do they go about that?
So we respond to all messages, all legitimate messages, I would say, not the ones trying to offer me some kind of certification for my resume. But a legitimate message that come on our website. We are very happy to start a dialogue. Does not need to be the promise of some kind of engagement or revenue for us. We love talking about this stuff. So that's innovationvista.com. And the other forum we're very active on, and multiple of us, is LinkedIn. So happy to take a message, or certainly interested if people have a post or a question or comment that they think is along these lines. This is my favorite thing to think about. So either the website or LinkedIn, I'm happy to chat.
Amazing. Jeff, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for taking the time. And I hope that we can stay in touch and do this again in the future.
Likewise. Thanks again, Mateo.